Collective Awakening podcast,
sharing truth and knowledge in this time of conscious awakening
with Chris and Stephen. Hello friends, and welcome to the Collective Awakening podcast. Chris and Stephen here, and just want to welcome everybody that's joining us. And tonight it's an absolute pleasure to welcome back for part 3 now we're on with Jill Harrison, Angel Messenger. And just during the course of this, I just want to add anybody who's joining us, please welcome into this space. And we do open it up this evening for questions. If you've got any questions at any point, it's an interactive talk, so you're welcome to join in. So, Jill, thanks so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
It's always an absolute pleasure. And anybody who hasn't watched our previous episodes with Jill, the other 2 that we did, are well worth checking out. So you'll be able to check those out on our YouTube channel or wherever you're listening to us. So it's where to start, because we know once we get on the subject of angels and we're talking about spirit, things always take a natural flow of where the chat will go. But where I wanted to start tonight, Jill, is, and this came to me about 2 seconds before we started, was I've heard it mentioned before that people come in with certain angels or when they reincarnate, when they're born. And I was just wondering if you could explain to us a little bit more about that process and how it works and your thoughts on it.
Okay, so as I understand it, first of all, there is your guardian angel, and your guardian angel is the caretaker of your soul. So your guardian angel is not with you just for this lifetime. A lot of books say, oh, this is your guardian angel for this lifetime. But your guardian angel is the protective energy, the divine energy that surrounds your soul. And so your guardian angel is with you through all your incarnations. And that guardian angel never changes. But you also come into the physical world with physical lessons, emotional lessons, and spiritual lessons. So the soul goes through what's called divine gateways. So let's say, for example, you come through Archangel Michael's divine gateway on a physical level. So this will then mean that Archangel Michael is going to, and his ministry of angels are going to support you in developing a particular set of traits or talents to help your soul tap more into it. So when you're coming in with Michael, what you tend to be coming in with are life challenges to do with courage, strength, mercy. So you often get a lot of people who, what I call, really go through the ringer when they're coming through on a physical gateway with Archangel Michael. So it's all about empowerment, understanding the power of the soul, the strength that you possess, and using that strength to bring through and explore the world around you. And then on an emotional level, let's say you came through the emotional gateway of Archangel Gabriel. Archangel Gabriel is all about communication and understanding judgment. So on an emotional, intellectual level, your challenge may be to find your voice or to learn to use the power of your voice. And then on a spiritual level, let's pick, for example, Archangel Zadkiel or Archangel Metatron, who's here to help you tap into those spiritual qualities. So you've already come in with at least 3 archangels and your guardian angel. And then what you also have is what I call your spiritual support team angels. Yeah. So if you're going through bereavement or childbirth or divorce or even exams, you have a particular set of angels who will also come and add their support. So I often say to my students, you know, when you're getting in the car and you're driving down the road and you think it's just you've got a whole busload of angels coming with you. And stepping in as and when, or bringing their energies in or their guidance to keep alerting you to the synchronicities of what's going on. So it's a really good way of understanding the themes in your life. You
Yeah.
know, if for example we tend to have a habit of always picking the wrong partners, or our relationships always failing, or not being able to get ahead with our job, these are all themes that our angels can help us with. And once you start to understand those themes, you tend to get a pretty good idea which gateway you've come through.
Yeah.
So you've always got all these angels with you, and they're not just sat, you know, just like this. I mean, they're helping everybody else, because remember, angels can be anywhere and everywhere at the same time. Because one of the issues I had, funny enough, earlier this week was, one of my ladies said to me, she said, I don't like to ask my angels because, you know, I know they're busy. And I said, there's billions of angels. And if the one that you've asked for can't help you, another one will step in anyway. So you
Yeah,
really ought to
yeah.
be asking. Because if you always put yourself last, then that will come into your reality that other people will always put you last. And she said, do you know something? She says, you're right, people do. I said, yes, because you're putting yourself last. And so that's sending that energy out. And that's why people aren't really considering, you know, what you're doing and bringing you
Absolutely.
to the fold. So
Yeah. So, I mean, a few thoughts come to mind with that. First of all, when we talk about it, I suppose in a way, if we're able to tap into that, be aware of that energy that we come in with, it'll help us in remembering or discovering our divine purpose as well, our gifts.
yeah, I think one
Yeah.
of the things that people struggle with most often is feeling that connection with their angels.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, angels you can communicate and get a yes no going with your angels.
Yeah.
And the first thing that you can do is invite your angel just to touch your face so that you can feel their presence, because it feels a little bit like cobwebs on your face. But you get like an energy that runs, because often your angels will try to touch your face to say it's okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
So
I've
sometimes,
experienced
you know, they will touch your face. So if you take time to sit and say, angels, I really need your help right now. And I really want to believe that you're here. I really want to have that faith. Can you help me? Could you touch my face? You should feel them either touch your hair or your face. But another way that you can get a yes no going, and I teach this with my students, is you can become what I call a human pendulum. And
Yeah.
what you do is you stand with your feet hip width apart and your arms down by your side, and you keep your head very neutral. And you ask your angels, you close your eyes and you ask your angels to draw close, and you ask them to push you forward for yes or back for no, because angels can push on our aura.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what you do is you stand there, make sure there's nothing that you can fall on, because I have had where some angels are so delighted they go like that and people go flying.
Over
Time
enthusiastic.
yeah, but most of the time it's very gentle, and then you can ask
Yeah.
a question. So I always say to people, ask your angels something that you know the answer is no. So for example, is my name Fred? If your name's not Fred, and they'll pull you gently back, you'll sway back, and then what you center yourself again, and then you ask your angels, is it in my best interest to, for example, date this guy? Okay, if they push you forward, that yes, right now it's serving your soul's purpose. But if they pull you back, you know what they're really saying is, actually this guy's not really aligned for you. So it's a
Yeah.
good way of getting confirmation and being able to talk to your angels. And the more that you do that, eventually you can do it sat down, because you can feel them, and they'll come and stand behind you for a no, and then they'll sort of come and stand in front of you, feel their energy come in at the front, and you think, yeah, I can feel you, so I've got a yes. So if you start to practice that, it's a really good way of getting the answers, the yes and the no's. And sometimes you don't get any answer, and I've always had students say, I'm not really getting anything. And most of the time it's how you ask. Because if you
Yeah.
say, should I, they won't answer you because they're not allowed to influence you. But if you ask, is it in my best interest to, they'll give you a yes or a no.
Yeah.
So I always
Mm.
say, try and think of asking your angels, is it in my best interest to do this? Is it in my best interest to do that? And they start to give you the yeses and the nos. So
Yeah,
once
it's
you get more
important.
confident with that, it's really, really good.
Yeah, we found that with I have actually tried that before, and it 100% works. But it was described same thing, but it was the person who showed it me called it the sway test.
Okay.
And it was side to side, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely as you've described in it, and it works.
Yeah.
And I know I just want to say there was a lady actually saying she was looking for guidance off her angels coming up in the comments, and maybe that's something you can try. You can try that right
Yeah,
now.
use that technique. I
Uh,
mean, the other way is if you're very good at sensing energies, you can just sit with your hands and say, touch my right hand for yes and my left
yeah,
hand for no. And you will get a coldness for yes.
yeah,
And so you can feel that it's like fresh air's just touched, like there's been a little breeze that's gone through your palm. So I say to if you want to do it that way, you can do it that way. But
I
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Sorry, come.
sorry, go on.
No, I just find this really fascinating because we are moving away from. I mean, the synchronicities, the angel spirit signs, the white feathers and things like that. They are amazing. But what I really like about this is our interaction. And I guess the angels like that. Instead of just sitting in our laurels and expect something to happen, those old times when we'd go to church,
Yeah,
give me a message. We're learning to work with the angels, and I
that's
really
right.
like that. I think that helps them, and that helps
Yeah,
our development and our intuitive development as well, doesn't
yeah.
it?
I mean, if you're struggling, I mean, again, it can be the lack of belief.
Mm,
But the other way you can do it, which is a little bit more difficult, is to use a candle
yeah,
and the angels will really make the flame go long for yes and very short for no, because that's a natural energy. And remember, it's all about energy. It's being able to have that awareness, because the more aware you are, the more you can feel whether or not you're aligned with where you are or whether it's the right request for you. And I think probably because, like we were saying earlier, there's so much written about angels about, oh, they don't do this or they don't do that. Angels can do whatever they like, really. They're omnipotent, they're everywhere, and they really are here to serve. So it's just a case of, just like if you start a new relationship. If I met, let's say, one of the people that's watching today on a bus, unless we strike up a conversation, we can't develop a relationship. So just like any relationship, you've got to make that effort.
yes.
You have to talk to your angels. It doesn't matter who else is listening. I talk all the time, and I say, oh, angels, I really need you to help me. I've got a really busy day today. Can you make sure I get done all the essential things that need to get done? Can you keep distractions at bay? And I find that when I do that, my phone's not ringing off the hook all the time, or, the dogs seem to be very calm and want to just go and sleep. So if I do that, the energies become very calm.
yeah,
Whereas if I don't do it, I can be on the phone and the dogs decide, it's zoomy time and they're zooming in and out. And then the cat's jumping on the back of the chair and mowing. And so it's a good, just talk to your angels. If you're in the bath, ask them to use the water to help you cleanse your aura or infuse the water with healing energies. It really is just about developing a relationship with your angels, and it takes time. It's not an instant a success straight away. Sometimes you're lucky, but if you keep doing that and having the faith that your angels will be there for you, they do come through. But they don't always necessarily give you what you want.
yeah. It's what you
Absolutely.
need. And it's having that belief in it. It's no good doing anything where it's going to be oh, I'm going to ask for this, but I don't really know. I don't really think that can happen. You're already knocking it down before
Mm,
anything's happened. You've got to have in your heart, this is possible. It's
yeah,
gonna happen. You've got to have that oomph. I've found that on my journey. It's no good expecting. It's 50-50 in a way as well. And
it
if you're
is.
saying, this is so possible, then that energy is going to be reciprocated to you.
The other thing to always have in your mind as well is how good are you at receiving? If
Mm,
somebody pays you a compliment, oh, you look really nice today, and you say, oh, this old thing, I've had it for ages. Um,
Yeah,
you're not very good at receiving. Whereas if you say, oh, thank you. And I've found that sometimes when we're so desperate that we want an answer,
yeah,
we're straining. So when we're straining, the more you're pushing for something, your aura becomes effectively like a shield. And spirit can't get to you, and you can't get to spirit, and you become trapped in this energy. So it's really important that you trust and just hand it over, because sometimes the easiest way to get things done is to say, angels, I just can't deal with this anymore. I'm giving it to you. I trust you to do what's right in my best interests, and I'll just take it a step at a time and deal with what comes, because I know you're guiding me through it,
yeah.
rather
Brilliant.
than, oh my god, what am I going to do, what am I going to do,
yeah,
nothing's
yeah,
working, why am I not getting any answers, why is nobody helping me? And again, with the angels, they will help you, but the more you help yourself with either a positive mindset or belief system, the more they can work with that energy, because your energy is expanding, so they can connect with you a lot more stronger. But if you're sitting in fear and you're bringing that energy down, it's really hard for your angels to, they're really having to work double time to try and bring you up. And so it's really important, if you need answers from your angels, you need to come away from everybody else, because people are toxic with their negative viewpoints. We've got the media that's negative, you've got soaps that are full of dramas that are going off and sucking you
Yeah,
into all that negativity. You need to shut everything off, come away, go and sit outside and just talk to your angels, and
yeah,
and they will come around you, they will give you that energy, they will support you if you ask.
Well, spirit don't like as well. We found that even when we talk about prayer, when a lot of people pray at night, well, a lot of people, and I used to do this, where we used to beg, and spirit don't like that because it turns you into a victim, and we're moving away from being the victim, being begging for things, where we're actually working with the spirit. We don't work for spirit, we work with spirit. So it's
Yeah.
moving away that understanding, and also that point about energy. The law of resonance, we can only call in what we are vibrating. So if we don't feel that we are worthy, and if we believe that, that's what we're going to
Mm,
attract as well,
yeah,
isn't it? So we
it
can
is.
only be what we are, not what we are not.
I think one of the biggest lessons that the angels taught me is to understand the power, the divine power that we have is imagination.
Yes.
And mankind have put that imagination is this flaky thing, it's not real. And they've done that to take the power away from us. But we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be talking about the things and doing what we're doing via this internet. Again, this is energy waves and energy waves. We wouldn't be doing any of this without the power of our imagination. And even if you study manifestation, it's all about the ability to see it, to feel it, to speak it, because when you speak, you prophesize. And that's it. And if you go through the Bible, not that as I said to you earlier, I'm not an authority on religious matters at all, but if you study through things, I studied the Kabbalah, which I found was for me, made sense of a lot of the different religions that I'd looked at. But when you look at, it's about seeing the synchronicities, the clues are in there.
Yeah.
but it's not about praying to an angel. It's not about praying to a god. It's about knowing that you are your spirit anyway. So it's not that you can't communicate with them. It's the mindset that says I can't. And that's what you have to change. You are, if, as I've said to you on, I think on this program a couple of times now, if you trace your family tree right to the beginning of time, you come from divine source.
Yeah.
You know, so everybody that's been before you, your grandma, your granddad, your greats and your great-greats, going back up that tree, you're going to end up back at source energy with God, light, the one conscious energy. So you already have it all. You've just got to get rid of that mindset, that programming that said you can't.
Do you think that's where a lot of people are stuck? It just seems a lot, because so many people are entrapped in their headspace. And I find when we do a lot of healing, a lot of people have problems with the third eye, with the crown blockage. It's because they're so bogged down with the mind. I can't connect, and they've got headaches, they're depressed, they've got anxious. So where do you think all that comes from, and how can we move away from that? Can the angels help us with that self-healing, or is there tools that we can use?
Well, there's two parts to that question, I feel. So you can ask your angels to help you. But like I said, hand it over to them. A good example of handing it over is if I go back to my younger years, I had 5 miscarriages and I went through all the IVF. And I just thought, I cannot do this anymore. I simply cannot. It is destroying me. It was sending me mental. I was becoming obsessed about getting pregnant. Why is it that other people could have babies, but they mistreat them? And I would have loved a child. And I went really through that roller coaster. And when I met my second husband, and he said, you know, would you like to have a family? I actually said to him, I said, I can't do it anymore. Been through all that. So I said, you know what? If it's meant to be, we'll ask the angels. And if it's meant to be, fine. But I'm not trying. And so Glenn and I, we lit a candle and we asked the angels if it would be possible for us to be blessed with a child. And we thanked them, blew the candle out, completely forgot about it. And then about 3-4 months later, I'd gone hiking and we were with friends. And normally I'm right at the front, off we go. And I just felt so tired. And I didn't twig at all. And it wasn't till the next day when one of the women that worked for me, she said, she's only not pregnant, are you? And I says, no, I don't think so. But then I thought, well, actually, do you know, I don't know. So I went and got a test, and that one was positive. And I thought, nah, I'm fooling myself. No, I went and got another 2, but I was. And I think it was, you often hear of, like, for example, people that are trying, so they go and adopt, and as soon as they adopt, they get pregnant. So I think sometimes, I think it's just about letting go.
Yes.
Let it go. And just trust. If it's in divine alignment for you and you're meant to have it, you will have it. And not worry about, and it's no reflection on whether or not you're worthy or not worthy. It's just about, okay, let it go. So in that sense, I think we worry too much. But when it comes to opening the third eye, I feel that people have this big polarity swing. They really want to see, but they're really scared of seeing.
Yes.
They're really scared of who they will become if suddenly they've got all that sight. So there's this pull where I want it, and then but on a deep subconscious level, it's like, oh well, I don't know if I can. Again, because historically, whether it's biblical or you've got these other people, you know, you've got to be special to be able to see spirit. No, you haven't. You've just got to believe. You've got to believe they're there. Funny enough, I've got another lady client who's in Cyprus, and she was saying to me that, you know, she struggled for a lot of time when spirit were coming to her. And so she kept saying, if you just give me this sign, I'll believe you. And they'd do that. And then she said, well, if you give me this sign, I'll believe you. She got a little bit really absorbed with it. She ended up walking away from it. But bit by bit they've been coming back, and now she really does realize that she's been getting it all the time. So I think we put too much pressure on ourselves, particularly if you see, for example, people like, I don't know, John Edward, or the Buffonted woman from New York, where it's screened and everything's like off pat.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember that there'll have been thousands of hours of editing through that program where they've connected and somebody's gone, no.
Yeah, absolutely.
They only see the yeses. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really important. And I think everybody's journey is different. And I think, just because someone else is getting something, and I see it a lot in circles, you get some people who, let's say, embroider and stretch what they've got. And then you've got someone else who actually is getting something that's really authentic. And they think, oh, well, I didn't get that. No, I didn't get as much detail as that. And so that knocks their confidence. So they don't speak up. They don't speak out. So I think sometimes in circles, it takes a very good tutor who's holding that energy to know who to bring along. And you've sat in spiritual churches, you get your open circle, and that's a really good way of spotting those people that they're getting something, but they're just that little bit unsure. Then you can bring them into a closed circle and help them develop a little bit more into a group where it's more embracing, because it is hard if you're first starting to talk to angels or to spirit to have that trust.
But do you not think, Jill, as well? I find just really important. Just a quick point there, Chris, and it's something that we were only talking about not long ago. Is some things are the mystery. Some things are, yes, we are as human beings, or as spirit in a human form. We are very inquisitive. We're here to learn. The earth is a school. We're here to learn and grow. But also, some things are the great mystery. I think we can't work everything out. I think we just have to surrender and grow with the flow. I think there's this thing a medium said to us, to a skeptic, there's never enough evidence. They will always ask for more and more. And a lot of it comes down to, Spirit has said to me before, look, Stephen, it comes down to your faith and your trust, and something that I received in messages as well. And I think some things, you're not going to know everything. And that's why I think it's disrespectful in a way, and maybe I'm not coming from a judgment perspective there, is to ask all the time. You could become obsessed. You become obsessed, and I don't feel spirit work that way. I don't feel.
No, I mean, I once I was doing a trans channel. I used to do salon sessions where groups of people would come to my home and we'd sit in a circle, and I would trans channel. And one particular, I always remember, Ascended Master Lord Sananda came through, and he said, if I returned back to earth as Jesus Christ, I would be crucified all over again. And if I was to manifest an apple, you'd want more.
Yeah, very true.
And so you have to come back to your spiritual core, and finding your spirituality is in the knowing.
Yeah,
it's within you. You can feel it in your gut just as much as when you're telling the truth, when you're not telling the truth, or when you're doing right and when you're not doing right. Because and the way that he described it is, for example, if you do something and you've done something that's really good, that's really helped somebody else, you really feel it. It feels it's a feeling of pure elation, that you've really helped that person. It's not about the ego. It's not about, oh, aren't I good? You just feel, you know, in your heart, you've really given your absolute best for that person. And that is that knowing. That is your spiritual connection. And it's about connecting with that energy. If you are in joy, if you are happy with who you are, where you are, then you don't have to worry about whether or not spirit are with you. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're on the right path. We're always on the right path. Sometimes it's just a path that we think, oh God, I must have been sat playing poker when I chose that path.
Yeah,
I must have had one too many gins.
I think we've all said that at some point, but it's interesting what you touch on there, because we actually Stephen did a trance demonstration last night, and a question was asked by a lady who was there about how do we become more spiritual in a way, and the answer given was just for me just spot on, which say, in a way mankind has become obsessive about becoming spiritual and this, and say just be you,
Mm,
just be your true self, that's all you need to be. you
yeah.
know Anything else isn't going to be right. Just be you.
Mm,
So what you've said makes perfect sense to me. And the other thing I wanted to touch on, well, a couple of things, is I don't know if you've ever seen that documentary. I mentioned it a couple of times on here. It's one of the more authentic ones, I feel, called
mm.
Surviving Death. It's on Netflix. And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a
Yeah.
gentleman,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's pretty good. Normally, anything with this work on television isn't.
Facebook's a no-go.
Um, no, they usually get the worst representations they can
Yeah.
find. But
Yeah.
anyway, on this one, it was pretty good. And this gentleman went for a reading, and he asked for something very specific from his father in the reading that would prove to him in his first reading. And he went in and he got it
Mm,
100%. But through the course of the documentary, he then wanted more, like you said, and he was
mm,
seeking, instead of going, wow, that one thing has
mm.
proved that my dad around me, he's there, that's indisputable. He kept chasing it and
Yeah.
chasing it. And I thought, wow, that really happens a lot. And
It does. Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
had a guy once who came for a reading, and his mother came through and did the reading. He went away, and within 2 days, he rang me again. Can I come back for another reading? And I said, well, I've only just read for you 2 days ago. He said, no, this is different. This is business. So I said, okay, that's fine. So he came back and we did another reading. Then he went away, and then the following week he rang again. And I said to him, I said, you can't live in the world of spirit. You're here to have a physical experience. Your family's around you, they're guiding you from the spirit side, but you can't use them to keep falling back on. You can't use them to make the decisions for you. You can't use them as like a safety blanket, because your life is about exploring and having a really diverse amount of different experiences. So because all life is about learning what you like and what you don't like. It's not about, oh, I got it wrong again, or I'm a failure. It's about, oh, that didn't work for me, maybe this one will. So it's a bit of, I normally, when I've had times where it's been, like I'm wading through mud, and my boys have said to me, you just keep trying, why don't you give up? And I said, because the more no's I get, the nearer I am to a yes.
I like that. Yeah.
So,
I'm going to remember that, Chris.
Yes.
every time
Repeat
it doesn't work, I'm nearer to it working. And I've got a big paycheck coming at some point, because of, we all have our crappy, poopy times. But
Yeah.
I do feel like what Spirit have taught me is it's the mindset that determines how you do. And if you think this isn't working, it's not going to work. You're right. If you think it
So
will
much.
work, I will find a way through it. I will come out of it. It will, because by the grace of God, your angels, whatever it is you believe in, that you cling to keep you moving forward, you will get there.
Yeah, I just think that's 100% agree with what you said, and I really feel that that knowledge is needed at this moment in time when there's so much that really wants us all to be in a victim state, that we're all very powerless and we'll just be sort of shuddering in the corner waiting for the next things to
Yeah.
happen. And if we
Wasn't
could realize how powerful we are, we're
wasn't
great creators.
yeah, wasn't it in the last chat we had when we were on about, if you think about it, when you watch a TV program, you're being programmed?
We discussed
Yes.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
you remember? And I said, in America, they call a mobile a cell. And if you look at today's society, everybody's walking down the street like this. Everybody's going to have hunchbacks by the time.
Yeah,
They're missing. They're missing. Watching. I mean, right now, the birds are gathering the twigs,
yeah,
and spiritually, you learn so much from nature. Like the little snowdrops. Look how fragile and delicate they are. A little bit like our souls, but they still push through the hardened earth, through the coldness, through that darkness of the soil, and they still break through. And I think that's a story, that spirit and the world is constantly telling us. It doesn't matter how dark it gets, there will be a breakthrough for you when the time is right. And
amazing.
that's what you need. You need to say, I can, even though people are saying to you, you can't. I don't know about, I think probably I'd go with Stephen more than Chris, but I would say that Stephen's very much like me, where if somebody would have said, oh, you're not doing that, you'd be more likely to do it just to prove them wrong.
We were talking about that in the kitchen yesterday.
Yeah,
That was me when I was younger.
yeah,
Somebody
it's
said to
very
me, no, no, and I hated anything to do with authority, because I thought there's always been something in me that rears against somebody else controlling somebody by saying, you can't do this. And no, that's not allowed. I know spirit laugh a lot of the time when we talk about, certifications, going to somebody else who says we're good enough.
yeah,
You
yeah,
are good enough, otherwise you wouldn't be here. You don't need someone
yeah.
else to write on a piece of paper to confirm your worth.
Yeah.
Absolutely, so true.
So it's yeah,
That's
but
I
very
just
much
want
that one.
to
So Stephen, yeah,
Yeah, I
all
just
yours.
want to sort of change the conversation just a little bit,
uh-huh.
because about what's happening on the earth at the moment, there is a very huge, it feels a very conscious shift happening. I mean, anybody watching or listening, you don't have to be incredibly intelligent. We all can read energy. There is a big energetic shift happening in the world. Now, what role has the angelic world, the angelic realm? Let's talk about the angelic realm. Why do you feel the angelic realm, because they don't have to, do they? What do you think they've got, like a contract with humanity to it? So many cultures and so many people across the world connect with angels, or have done for thousands and thousands of years, millions of years. Why do you feel that the angelic realms are wanting to help mankind and still helping us?
Because that's what they were created for.
Right.
So just like, let's say it's in your, it's a human need to eat. It's an angel's need to serve and protect humanity. And when they're
Wow.
protecting humanity, they're often protecting us from ourselves a lot more than they are from other people. Believe it or not, it's sometimes the angels are like, no, not again, don't do that, we're trying to guide you this way, please listen, please see. So that is their whole, it's like their oxygen. Because again, one thing I think that most people don't talk about with angels is, just as we're evolving, so are they. So even the ascended masters, they're still evolving, they're still growing, because what worked back in 12 BC doesn't work now. They're having to adapt to the mass consciousness, because our mass consciousness creates our reality. which again kicks
Yes.
in with, you know, if you keep we were talking before we went live about a lack of money, but the same amount of money is in the world. It's just it's just distributed differently. But if you see that there's a lack, and if you start saying, and you listen to media, you know, oh, times are hard, there's no money around, then you won't have that. I walk about, and I always say, and I do it even while I'm hoovering around, isn't it lovely that I am always manifesting large amounts of money out of thin air? And that's what I say to myself. Isn't it wonderful that money is always flowing to me? Isn't it amazing that when I need money, money always appears in my life? And isn't it wonderful, angels, that you bring me all these blessings? So it's just a case of using your energy. We were talking about earlier, you know, if you're vibrating down here and your angels are up here, you've got to lift your energies up to meet that. Same as if you're doing mediumship, you have to expand your vibration up and out and meet spirit. It's not that they're up here, they are here, but your vibration is not, you're dialing, but it's not connecting. So
yeah, I just wanted to ask you as well. I was going to ask you before when we were talking about synchronicities and connecting with spirit. There is a tool that we started using here at the center. We're very big here at the Purple Mountain with like healing treatments and working with crystals. And what's your thoughts on the angelic bobber? The angelic bobber and the pendulum, because they are absolutely amazing tools. I've started using it. It's absolutely amazing.
Right. When you say a bobber, are you talking about an actual pendulum itself?
No, it's like a lot of rod on that,
yes,
a lot of bobber. That yeah.
Well, if you go on my YouTube channel, I've got videos on there about how to check the aura for tears and use the bobber. I find them spot on. The only thing I would say is remember that your bobber or your pendulum is first and foremost picking up your energy.
Yeah.
I've watched, I kid you not, I once watched a woman in a mind, body, spirit fair, and I don't think I've got my pendulum here. No, I haven't. It's not. It's in the other drawer. And I watched, and she was swinging it like this, going round, and she was saying, "Oh, your aura's bad luck." And I just stood and I was amazed. And then she got the woman to lay down, and she laid her hands on her for about 5-10 minutes. And I kid you not, she covered her in a blanket. She sort of said, right, you're going to absorb this healing energy. And she sat for 10 minutes and knitted. She got her knitting needles out. And then after she'd done 10 minutes, she kept looking at her watch. She got up and she said to the woman, look, you're healed. And she held it. And she says, look, it's all balanced now. Now, because the girl's laid down and her eyes are closed, she hadn't got a clue what was going off. But what was really funny is often, you know, when you see people like that, they're using these tools incorrectly because it is an extension of you. So you can get accuracy, but you've got to be really neutral when you're dowsing. You've got to be really, better still, particularly with what I liked about the bobbers is when you don't know the answer.
Yes.
So like you've lost your car keys. I always used to use mine to find my car keys. And I used to bring mine out when I got the kids, and they used to poop their pants because they used to say, are you lying to me? And they'd look and
oh God.
And they say, I might not. Cooper used to say, I'm being economical with the truth. I used to say, right, because they learn. Because I used to say, you know, are you telling me the truth? Oh yes, Mum. So I started getting the bobber, you know, when one was saying one and one was saying the other, and I didn't know who. And it always, so now if the bobber comes out, they go, they scarper. I mean, they're young men now, but yeah.
So,
I like the bobber when you don't know the answer.
If any mother or father is listening, get the bobber out. Or get a pendulum out. That's a great way to see if a child is misbehaving or lying.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, and so crystals. There seems as well a lot of hype and also a huge awakening. A lot of people are interested in crystals, aren't there? And it comes from the earth. Is that something that the angelic realms are guiding humanity to connect more with crystals, or is that something else that humanity's getting hype over? Or
Well, just as we have angels, crystals have angels. So
wow.
I did, and they remember when you're working with angels, there's nothing wrong with using crystals to enhance that. So for example, when you're asleep, you need to have what I call raw amethyst and selenite at the side of your bed, because that purifies the energies while you sleep, and it's also the strongest combination of energy that protects you while you're astrally traveling and doing whatever you're doing. So it's a really good combination to have in your bedroom. Just the same as if by your front door, when people are coming in, it's going to zap their any negativity they're carrying. But in your hallway, I like to have a piece of rose quartz, so that as they come through the door, they connect with that loving energy. So I do believe 100%, if you see a crystal and you're drawn to it and it brings you comfort, or it just makes you feel nice, it's your angel's way of guiding you to that, because they're helping you sort of hold that frequency, hold that energy, so your angels can work with you more. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be a crystal. You can be out and just see like a pebble or a seashell. Or, you think, oh, that's pretty. Don't discount it. Pick it up. As long as it's not a great big boulder and the council and the seafront are going to come after you and try and find you for nicking a big boulder. But yeah, sometimes we're drawn to things. I once did a class, and we were going to work with crystals, and when I work and I'm teaching, I'm also semi-channeling, and the angel said, we're not going to work with crystals. And I thought, oh, this is an angel crystal healing class, why aren't we working? And they said, send them out into your garden. Well, where I lived previously, I had just shy of 2 acres of mature Victorian woodland, and they said, get them to connect and find something in your garden that speaks to them. People were coming back with, some had brought twigs, some had brought a flower, some had brought a pebble, and they got more from that than they did trying to work with a crystal. So again, it's still a natural energy. So everything's energy. It's what resonates. What are you drawn to? So sometimes I say to people, if you're struggling to work with crystals, or you're not sure which crystal, try working first and foremost with something out in your garden that you're drawn to. Just be wandering around and say, angels, can you guide me to something that will help either bring me healing today or bring me peace today? And it's a case of holding it and feeling it and touching it. Whether it's a leaf or a petal. Again, you can do that, but certainly I love crystals. I find them really healing. For example, if you've got a nice piece of polished rose quartz, I think there's nothing better than running a bath, putting your polished rose quartz in the bath, and asking Archangel Shamuel to come and bring you and imbue the water with his loving energies. And you sleep like a log.
Yeah, you do. You do.
So you can do that. Just make sure your crystals aren't soluble, but everything has a resonance. Everything has an energy. So some people might say, oh, you need, for example, blue kyanite to connect with Archangel Michael, or sodalite or lapis lazuli because it's blue. But Archangel Michael also works on the red ray. So you know, you might be drawn to a carnelian. So it's just go with what you're drawn to. There's a reason why you're drawn to it. There's a reason why it's catching your eye. It's calling to you. And then what you can do is you can sit with that and ask the angel that's holding that energy within that crystal to connect with you, and ask it what message it's got for you or what it's here to learn. And you might just suddenly get it might be suddenly you hear the word compassion, or well, in fact, let's take compassion. It might not necessarily be compassion for others. A lot of the time it's having compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
Because we always think, oh well, I'm nice to people. Why have I got compassion? But are you nice to yourself?
Yeah.
So it's you know,
absolutely. And I feel that's something me and Stephen were discussing the other day, that sometimes, I suppose we might have all done it, is trying to put logic to things, and it doesn't work. It's just feel your way into things and feel the energy and go with the flow. Because if
yeah.
you're trying to put logic in things and trying to work things out, you could be missing something that's right in front of you at that very moment.
Yeah, the problem with logic is, funny enough, just before I came in here on the TV, I tend to have YouTube relaxing music, and I sit with spirit before I come. And in the midst of the music, it suddenly changed to one of these ads. But there was a guy on there who is a metaphysicist and a neurologist. And he was saying that 80% of the time we are habitual and we're doing things because it's what we've been taught. And he was talking about changing habits. And it takes 21 days. You've got to do something different for 21 days for it to become a new habit. And I think we read a lot of information about angels or about spirit that it blocks sometimes the process of our own unfolding, because we're thinking, oh, it should be like this, oh, it's got to go this particular way, or I've got to sit for hours and meditate. In fact, it hasn't. It's just about inviting your angels to guide you, and trust they're guiding you, and let them, and just then experience what's unfolding. How is it making you feel? You know, what are you aware of? And sometimes it'll bring up something. Let's say, for example, it brings up a fear. We tend to push it down because our subconscious, that programmed learning, saying, you know, we've been taught that you shouldn't feel bad. But if you don't explore that and why it's coming up, you're never going to go beyond that. You're always going to stay at that level. Whereas if
that's
you
so
can
true.
feel
That.
And you say, angels, I'm getting this, but I'm really not understanding what I'm meant to do with it. And a lot of the time it's learning, and as we've talked about before, is learning to sit with that energy so that it no longer is that fear, so that it becomes familiar to us. And we realize, actually, this is something I just need to let go of. And then again, we can then say to the angels, you know, teach me what I need to know about this. Can you take this from me? If it's meant, if I can release it, can you help me release it? And help me understand this. But what we do is we just ask the angels and expect them to say, oh, it's such and such and such and such. But you're not learning.
Yeah.
Because we absorb through doing, hearing, and seeing. So if you're only doing one of those things, you're learning. A capacity to absorb wisdom, to absorb that knowledge, is limited.
People tend to romanticize their awakening, or they romanticize a lot of things. And I know even I've something that I'm sort of trying to, the word hard. How many times do we use the word hard? Even at school, work hard, you know, work hard in school, work hard at work. And it's just conditioning us that everything will be hard, everything will be difficult.
Yeah.
We should be saying to our children, find joy in your studying. It's not going to be hard. Find joy. So it's conditioning the words. Words are powerful. Words are magic, aren't they? They're magic. How we use our words. It's so simple. It's mind blowing.
The thing is, as well, is we get told, oh, don't be different, don't stand out, blend in, fit in, find something to fall back on. No, we never go back. Find something to fall forward into, fall into something new, fall into something different. And I think, again, coming back to the working with angels and spirituality, it's sometimes people use it as a form of escape.
Yes.
They have it in their mindset that the angels are going to rescue them, or that being more spiritual means you're not going to have, testing times. And the thing is we grow through pain, because if it hurts enough, it hurts enough for us to do something about it most of the time. You do get some people who just actually completely implode, but most of the time. And if you look back through all your life and all the, excuse my French, the shitty things that you've had done to you or you've experienced, look where you are today. You've got here, you've come through that, and you've learned from it. So it is important that you don't think that it's going to absolve you from not learning, from not having these experiences. In fact, I think it's the opposite. The more spiritual you become, the harder the lessons become.
That's what I found. Yeah, it's interesting as well. It's something I was going to mention earlier, but it's come back around. We talk about our individuality, because the circle we sat in originally when we were, I suppose, learning and just coming into this movement, and the lady who ran that circle would always say if there was 10 people in the group,
Yeah.
and they were all sensing one thing and you were sensing something completely different, it doesn't mean you're wrong.
No, it
You
doesn't.
might be picking up on something that everybody else isn't. And I thought that was such good philosophy, because we have this thing of the majority being, oh, well, that must be right, when it isn't always that way.
No.
Certainly not working with energy.
Well, as I said, I mean, what I like to always say to my students is, when we always have discussions when we've done an exercise. We always, how have you found it? How did the energy work for you? Or how did you perceive this particular angel? And sometimes you get people who just say, well, I didn't get a lot. And I say, what do you mean you didn't get a lot? Well, I only saw a bit of pink. Okay, so you got pink. And how did it make you feel? Well, it made me feel this. I said, so you got the pink, and then you got a feeling with it. Okay. And as you went into that feeling, what did you become aware of? And before they with it, they realized actually they got quite a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and I always say you should always speak what you're feeling, what how it feels to you, what you're perceiving, because you may bring something through in a way and at a level that somebody else here will grasp perhaps better than if I was saying it, because everybody has something that they bring to the table. So you should always use your voice. You should always speak up and share what you get. And I feel that a lot of the times in class situations, people are afraid to speak up. And yet, little do they realize that when they're speaking up, they're actually being the spiritual teacher. Because we all are spiritual teachers. I learn just as much from my students as they hopefully learn from me. And we all have something. So when somebody's getting something, like you said, that's different, that's individual, I find that really refreshing and interesting, because it's another thread, it's another doorway for someone to consider. And that's what I've found the angels are always doing. They're always saying, right, you're going this way, but hey, there's this door here. Or hey, there's this door here. And you think, oh, but our programming says, oh, no, stick with what you know. Keep just moving forward. Don't rock the boat. But your angels are merely giving you potentialities. And if you do something, I mean, the best way to get out of that sink is to do things differently, like drive home a different way. If you normally wash in a shower with your right hand, wash with your left hand. Try showering with your eyes closed. I know it sounds silly, but you're starting to use your awareness differently.
Yeah.
And it's a really
Great.
good way if you feel that you're not very aware of spirit around you, to start using your senses differently. You know, if you
Yeah.
normally drink with your right hand, start drinking with your left hand. You know, if you normally write with your right hand, try writing with your left hand, or doodling. And at first it looks like a 2-year-old's written it, but you wrote like a 2-year-old when you were 2, when you were first learning. So it's just a case of
Very true.
rebalancing your awareness and your energies. And I think we need to break that mold if you want to work with spirit better. Because what happens is if you're working, for example, with Archangel Michael, you'll feel his energies one way. But then what happens is when you become really comfortable with that, they are, in a way, excuse me, my French, a little bit like, they're a little shit sometimes, because then they say, oh no, we're not going to work with you that way anymore. We're going to work with you differently.
Oh yeah,
And
I've experienced that.
you think, hang on. I had that when I was doing Mind Body Spirit fairs. I always used particular cards. And this particular day, I was driving, and Metatron said to me, he said, you're going to do it different. And I was like, eh, what? And I thought nothing about it. I set the stall up and everything. And I couldn't find my cards. They weren't there. Where's my cards? And he said, no, you're not doing that. And he said, go over there. So I started walking over there, and he said, turn right, turn right. I said, look down. And there was these energy cards. But there's nothing, there's no, you know, like people sometimes buy angel cards and they've got messages on.
Yeah.
These were just artwork. And they said, right, you're going to read the energy. And I thought, oh, crap. But you know what? He worked with me. He said, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to do this way. And it taught me a lot. You know, first couple of clients, I was like bricking it, thinking they're going to turn around and say, well, that's a load of crap. But they didn't. They actually, you know, and I think as readers, we don't share that very often with people, that we have our own insecurities as well. You know, we have times when we wonder if we're feeling a bit off, because we know we're feeling a bit off, but we've got clients coming. You know, are we going to be crap at doing our readings today? And I think as readers, we ought to let people that we're bringing along. You are going to have days like that where you think, oh God, I'm just not feeling it today. I'm hoping, you know, spirit will step up. They always step up. But even though that still doesn't stop you doubting yourself, it still doesn't stop you wondering whether or not you're going to give a shit reading to somebody.
That is so true. It's how me and Chris feel sometimes. But then what's so interesting is after you've done the reading, you think, oh, I feel amazing, because you've been in that energy, and you thank you. But I just want to make a point there, is that there's a famous word that the Buddhists use, which is they call the poison of the body, which is the word comfort. Once we are comfortable, we don't shift, we don't change, we don't evolve, we don't grow, because we stay. And I think that's where, spirit, like, right, we're doing something different today, and it's great because it keeps us going. Because we as human beings, oh, right, that's it now, I've got a lovely week. No, you're not. Big bombshell comes up. Oh shit, Chris, we're at it again down that road. But you know what? I wouldn't want it any other way, and I'm sure you don't as well, Joe.
No. Well, what I like is it brings fresh energy in, like you said. It does, and it also, I think sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I think perhaps I get a bit complacent with spirit. You know, it's like I sit and I invite spirit in because I've got readings coming that day, and I ask whoever needs to come through comes through, and I make sure I top my energies up. Then I go and do the readings, and sometimes they'll bring things through in such a different way. You know, for example, I had one day where all I got was Claire Gustins, where I could just taste things. They were making me taste things, and some of these things were horrible. I mean, I don't smoke, but you know, when you've got somebody in spirit who was a really heavy smoker, and it's like you've just had, I don't know, 20 pack of Woodbines. So I like that, because it brings a different perspective in. So, and what I particularly when you're doing mediumship, sometimes spirit will show you things that you think, well, that's to do with me, but it's because of that experience you had that
Yes.
your clients had that's spot on.
I've found that a lot
You know,
as
whether
well.
that's being on a beach. If you, I had somebody's sister that was in spirit, and she was on about this particular. I'll always remember it because it happened to me back in the 60s. They used to knit swimsuits, and I had this swimsuit on, and I went into the ocean. And I came out looking like Rod Stewart's "If You Think I'm Sexy," Kevin Everett one. Where I was like a sand dredger. My knitted swimsuit had stretched, and I'd just got this huge arse of sand, and everybody's pointing and laughing. And I had this girl in spirit had the same experience. And I said, you must have been with her. And I had to explain my experience. And the woman was so thrilled because it was something that really connected for her. And she remembered her mum and dad. They couldn't do anything for laughing, but her sister was in tears. She felt ridiculed because she'd got, like me, this suit that was hanging and it had got all this sand in it.
Wow.
So sometimes you use your own experiences. And I think when you're first learning, we discount that thinking, oh, why am I getting that? So I think part and parcel when you're working with angels or with spirit is to just speak about what you're seeing, what you're feeling, and don't censor it.
Yeah.
Because that way then you're at your most authentic.
Well, in your experiences, go on, Chris.
No, I was just saying, I just feel like there's been some wonderful advisement this evening, which I really like, on what everyone can be doing and do. You know, whether that's the mindset or the way we approach things as well, in connecting with spirit. These things, you know, that we can be doing, because, like you say, there's so many that are very quick to say, "Well, I can't." Well, you can. You can try these things. You can try these things. You know, and something I say often, and I can resonate so much with what you said, Jill, when you said, because sometimes people will say, "Oh, it's easy for you, Chris and Stephen. It's easy." They said, "Well, no, it's not. We get the same amount of crap. We have the same doubts in ourselves. We have the same things, obstacles in our personal lives. We have good days, bad days, but you just navigate and know that when you do have these crappy experiences, that you are going to be better for it when you come out the other end."
Yeah.
You know, you're having it. That's what gets me through a lot of things. Think whatever's happening, it's happening for my greater good. It's trying to teach me something.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out what the lesson is that can be a bit
I think what it is about is getting into the habit, although we were talking about getting out of habits, is getting into the habit of just stopping and thinking, okay, what am I meant to learn from this?
Yes.
And if you can't get the answer straight away, just say, angels, can you bring me what I'm meant to learn from this, either in my sleep or to me when I'm not so focused on it? Just let it come in and off. It's a little bit like, sometimes the easiest way to describe it is, have you ever had where you've been trying to remember somebody's name? And for the life of you, it's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't remember who it is. And then you go away and you're making a coffee, and suddenly it pops straight into you, and you go, I know who it was. And that's the same thing. So sometimes when you say, angels, what am I meant to learn from this? You know, just I'm obviously being a bit dim today, but can you just sort of, you know, when you're ready, just slide it in there, and then you go and get So
you know,
sorry, go on.
I was gonna, what made me laugh there was that one of my big lessons, and it's a story, just a very quick story that I tell all my students and the people that we meet, is that my big thing in this life, for whatever reason, is not to judge. You know, you do your drive, you're like, why is this person, oh, Stephen, you're judging again. And I feel like for the past 25 years, especially the past 20 years since I've got involved in this work, is you're here not to judge. You're here not to judge. You're here to perfect, never to judge. And last year, this penny dropped in my mind, and it was this voice, Stephen, you not come back to learn not to judge. You've come back to learn. It wasn't easy, was it, Stephen? It's not easy. And I thought, oh my God, that was the lesson. The lesson was, it's easy to judge, but it's it's hard, isn't it, Stephen? Because I thought, oh, it's going to be easy on the earth. Oh, I'm going to sail through and everything's going to be perfect. And actually, the lesson was you're never going to stop judging. You judge without you even knowing. Your lesson, Stephen, was, it's not easy, is it? And I thought, shit, it's not easy. So that was the penny that dropped in my mind after all these years, 20 years. I thought, I'm so hard on myself about self-judgment. And the lesson was, it's not easy, Stephen. So the lesson was, it's not easy, is it? And I thought, no, it's not. It's bloody hard. Oh, and I'm using that word hard again.
Yes, you are. Getting easier, Stephen.
Yeah, easier.
Getting easier to discern.
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic, Jill. Just every time we speak to you, it always takes a life force of its own on. And just thank you.
It morphs into something completely different.
Yeah. And it's always what it's meant to be. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your experiences with us. And I know that a lot of people are going to receive it well who are listening as well. And it'll help them on the journey. And if you are wanting to connect with Jill, she does a wonderful range of work as well. We'll post on angelmessenger.co.uk and offers some wonderful reading experiences on a deep level as well. So if you are drawn to Jill, please check those out. And what have you got coming up, Jill? What's your adventures bringing you?
Well, as you know, as I said, I'm writing 2 books at the minute. At the moment, I'm releasing, I've been getting ascension light codes from the angels. So I'm doing a series of ascension light code meditations at the moment. We've just done Sandolphin and Michael. Gabriel, I'm releasing tomorrow. So they're good because they're helping people with their spiritual growth and ascension. But if you want, next time we come back, why don't we do and get people more involved and do like understanding angels and colors?
That'd be wonderful.
And how to work with the angels through color.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Because I think color's a really good way of getting into working with spirit. If you've done ribbon readings and things like that, and maybe get people getting more involved with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all for that.
Amazing.
We're all for number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep them going. And that reminds me as well. Please check out Jill on YouTube as well. Some of her meditations. The guided meditations are wonderful. That's actually how we found Jill originally. We used them in many of our classes actually and shared them. And myself and Stephen got a lot out. Yeah, really powerful and a wonderful way to, in the simplest form, to settle yourself down and just come into a relaxed space, to start listening to your body.
Well, they're also on Spotify as well. So if people got Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon Prime have got some on there, but I don't think they've got, I think I'm up to 116 now, still growing. Meditations, still going strong.
Is that all?
So, but I mean, I have been at it with these meditations and channeling angels for so long now, since 2005. So it's sort of become a body that's grown.
Yeah.
But the first meditation, which is on YouTube, is how to meet your guardian angel. Meeting your guardian angel. That's a good one to start with if you're struggling to connect with your angel. Yeah. So but
I love the Archangel Michael that you've done.
Oh, thank you so much again, and thanks so much for everybody listening. And please connect with Jill if you feel drawn to do so. And thank you very much for supporting this podcast and listening to us as well. And many more to come. And we're just sending all our love. And thank you very much.
Take care. God bless. Bye.
Bye.